Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name's Mr. Steele, and for those of you who haven't met me, I am the grade 6-7 band teacher. But today, I am offering a lesson to absolutely anyone who has a guitar at home and would like to learn to play. I'm going to go over some really basic chords, and then I'm going to teach you a really easy song that can be your first song to learn on the guitar. So let's get started. Now I'm going to go over all the parts of the guitar throughout a few more videos, but we're going to start with just 3 parts that I'm going to reference quite a bit in this lesson. So the first part is the neck of the guitar, and that's the part that stretches from up here all the way to down here. And when we are learning chords today, we're going to be playing on the neck of the guitar. So I'm going to reference this part of the guitar quite a bit. Now the next part that's really important for us to know about are the 6 strings of the guitar. So today I'm going to give each string a number. In the future, we're going to call them by their note names. But for now, we'll just give them numbers. So starting at the bottom, this is string number 1. So from the bottom to the top, we've got string number 1, string number 2, string number 3, string number 4, string number 5, and all the way at the top is string number 6. Okay? So when I refer to the strings, I'm going to refer to them by their numbers. Now the next part of the guitar that we're going to be using a lot in this lesson are the frets. And the frets are these metal pieces that you can see going across the neck. If I were to take my thumb and just pluck the 6th string, it would sound like this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to put it right on that 3rd fret, or just behind it, not quite on it. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pluck the 6th string, and we're going to notice that a new note comes out. Okay, so again, without the finger and with the finger. Okay, so it's important to know that we can create different notes on the guitar by picking strings and frets and placing our finger on the frets of those strings. And through that process, we're going to get all the different notes. So when I refer to my left-hand fingers, I don't number the thumb. I number the 1st finger as my index finger. My middle finger is the 2nd finger. My ring finger is the 3rd finger. And then my pinky is the 4th finger. The thumb we just refer to as the thumb, and we probably won't refer to it very often. Okay, so before we get into learning the chords on the guitar, we need to learn how to read a chord chart. So this is a chord chart. And you'll notice that just like the guitar, we've got 6 lines going up and down, 6 strings going up and down, and we've got 3 lines going across, and these are the frets going across the neck. These black markers on the chord chart indicate where we're going to put our finger on the guitar neck. So, looking at this one, remember that this is the 6th string, and our marker is on the 1, 2, 3. It's on the 3rd fret. So if I were to pick up my guitar now, I would go to the 6th string, and I would count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to take finger 2, and I'm going to place finger 2 just above that 3rd fret, and get this note. So when we go through the chord charts in a minute, we're going to go through each finger and we're going to learn how to play the chords. Alright, so this is the song. Let's see if you recognize it. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I would buy you a house All right, so the first chord that we have to learn is the G chord. All right, so for the G chord, we take our third finger, this one here, and we go to our 6th string and our 3rd fret. And notice that I have a nice arch to my finger, and my finger is placed just above the fret. Now I take my 1st finger and I put it on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Now my 3rd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And my 4th finger is going to tuck right in behind it on the 1st string, the 3rd fret. So all my fingers have a nice arch, which means that when I play my chord, all of the strings are going to be able to ring out. So that might take you a little bit longer to get than it just took me. So you can pause the video, rewind, look at your chord chart. If you've got all the fingers in the right place, it should sound like this. For some of you, your chord might sound like this. So a couple strings are ringing out very clearly, and some in the middle aren't really ringing out. So what's happening here is your fingers might be too flat, and you need to arch them like this. So your fingers should have a nice angled knuckle to them so that all of the strings are free to ring clearly rather than being muted by flat fingers that are resting on top of them. Okay, so remember, nice arched fingers. Read your chord chart. Make sure all of your finger positions match the chord chart. So our next chord is the D chord. We're going to take our 1st finger and we're going to put it on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Our 3rd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and our 2nd finger is going to tuck in behind on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. You'll notice on the chord diagram for D that the top 2 strings have an X at the top. That means that we are not going to strum those strings when we play. So we're only strumming 1, 2, 3, 4 when we play the D chord. Again, making sure that our fingers are not flat, but nice and arched. Okay, so now we have our G chord, and we have our D chord. So the last chord that I'm going to teach you is the C chord. And we're actually going to learn the C add 9 version of the chord. Don't worry about the add 9 part of the chord. We're just going to call it C for now. C looks just like G, but the fingers are moved down 1 string. The top 2 fingers move down 1 string. So I'll go over that from the beginning. We've got our pinky, 4th finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Our ring finger, our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. We're going to take our 2nd finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Now there's an X on the chord diagram above the 6th string. That means we're not going to play that one when we strum. We are just going to strum the bottom 5 strings with nice arched fingers up top. Sounds like this. Now you'll notice that our 3rd finger did not move for any of these chords. And that's actually a really good thing, because that means that we have what's called an anchor note or an anchor finger to work off of. So if we were to go back to our G chord, and now we want to switch to our D chord, we start by thinking, okay, well, we are not going to move that 3rd finger. That's our anchor. It stays in place. The other fingers can lift, and then we're going to remember that our 1st and our 2nd finger go down on the 2nd frets of the 1st and the 3rd string. So you get this nice triangle shape with the D chord. So practice that switch a few times. Remember to keep your anchor finger in place. Remember, at any time you can pause the video and just try these things over and over again until you're ready to move on. We're going to do the switch from D to C now. So for D to C, again, we have this anchor note. The third finger on the third fret is going to hold us in place. When we switch our chord, we're going to lift our fingers, but we're not going to lift the third finger. We're going to put our fourth finger down on the third fret, and then we're going to put our second finger down on the third fret of the fifth string, and we're going to put our first finger down on the second fret of the fourth string. And we got C. Try to go back to D without lifting your anchor finger. And back to C. And back to D. Okay? So hopefully that anchor finger is helping you switch your chords. Once you have all three chord shapes and you can kind of move between them, I want you to do one after the other, just like this. G, switch to D, and then switch to C. All the while being sure to not lift your anchor finger. Remember to keep your fingers arched, not flat. And remember to read what strings you're actually supposed to play on your chord chart and which ones are X'd out. Because on D, the top two strings are X'd out, and on the C, the top string is X'd out. While the G chord, we play all the strings. Okay, so there are our three chords. Now is a good time to just pause the video and work on those finger shapes, those chord shapes, until you have them all really good. That might even take a few days, so you can just pause the video, go back, keep practicing your chord shapes. Once you got that, you're ready to move on. So let's move on to strumming. As you might have seen when we were learning our chord shapes, we're strumming with our thumb. So when we hold the guitar, I typically rest my elbow up here on the top of the body, and then my hand just kind of, or my arm just kind of brings my hand right on top of the sound hole. And then I use the pad of my thumb, so this section right here, I use that pad to do the strum. Now you'll notice with mine, I have a bit of a nail, so sometimes you get that shimmering sound from my nail hitting the strings. Some of you might not have a nail and you might just have the thumb sound, and that's okay too. It's just a little bit softer of a sound. Some of you will want to use a pick like this. If you have a pick at home, that's great. If you want to use a pick but you don't have one, you could use a bread clip and cut it out into a nice little shape that is shaped like a pick, a triangle. You could try that. Don't ever use something like a quarter, because that's one, it's not going to sound very nice, but it's also not very good for your strings to use a quarter. Okay, so let's get into strumming. So for strumming, we're just going to keep it really simple. We're going to go down and then down again with our thumb. Twice on G. Then do our chord switch. Twice on D. And then we're going to do our chord switch to C. And we're going to do it 4 times. Okay, so that was twice on G, twice on D, and 4 times on C. We're going to do it really slow to start. So following me, 1, 2, ready, G. And C. So if that was too fast for you, slow it down even more. Do it at your own pace. It might be this slow to start. And that's totally okay. You're going to get up to speed as you practice. What's important is that the chords are ringing out nice and clear, that you're making sure to strum evenly and strumming all the right strings for the chord, and everything else will come with time. Your speed will come with time. Okay, so again, it sounds like this with the strumming and the chord changes. Okay, so that is the verse to If I Had $1 Million. If you want to get into the chorus, because you've now paused the video, practiced that for a week, and you're feeling like you're nailing it, now is the time where I'm going to teach you another chord, and then we're going to learn the chorus, and then you'll have the whole song. Okay, so in order to play the chorus, we need to learn one more chord, and that chord is the E minor chord. And we're actually going to play it as what's called the E minor 7th chord, but just like with C and C add 9, we're not going to worry about why it's called the minor 7. We're just going to call it E minor for the purpose of this lesson. So E minor looks very similar to G. So to learn E minor, we're going to start with our G chord, and we're just going to lift our second finger, and then we're going to place it back down, but we're going to place it down on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, just in behind our 1st finger. With arched fingers so that all of the notes can ring through, we're going to strum every single string for the E minor chord. Sounds like this. So the chorus goes from C to D to G, and then to E minor. 2 strums on each. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million. Okay, so now you can learn the chorus to the song and practice that, again, at your own speed. If you're starting this slow, that's totally okay. Just make sure all the chords sound very clear and you're strumming all of the right strings, and the speed will come with time. All right, I hope you had fun learning. Remember that you can always reach out to me by email to set up a live video lesson, and in that lesson I could troubleshoot anything that you're having some difficulty with, or I could answer your questions related to this video, or I can even help you get to the next step. So if you're interested in a one-on-one video lesson with me, definitely send me an email. I'm going to put my contact information on the portal on the music page. So look for it there, and I'll see you soon.